And we welcome you live to In the Circle. We have just finished watching the gold medal game at the Summer Olympics and Japan victorious over Team USA 2-0. Eric Lopez here alongside Victor Anderson. We will take your questions. Make sure in our chat room or in our Twitter handle. I know that's already some questions already in there. And In the Circle SB, you could like us on Facebook. And of course, make sure you subscribe and like. Press the like button. We really would encourage that on our YouTube page. We got lots of great content there, including our interview with U.S. Olympian Lauren Lappin from our Monday episode of In the Circle, which you could listen to on your favorite podcast devices as well. All right, Victor, obviously we're up in the morning, and Japan wins the gold 2-0. Certainly there'll be a lot of dissection about this, a lot of questions asked. Yeah. Let me just give you my initial thoughts, and then I'll kind of let you go as my phone's exploding. As you would imagine, of course, at 9 in the morning, a lot of questions. But here's the bottom line. As American fans, while passionate, I think we are egotistical. We are arrogant. We think we should win everything. And especially, and when we don't give credit to the other team. We will blame others, right? We see this now with USA basketball. USA basketball, every time they lose, well, what's wrong with Team USA? Is the roster flawed? Is it coaching? Not acknowledging the fact that the world has caught up. Every team in the world has professional basketball players, period. Heck, I would argue the best basketball player in the Olympics is not even American. He's Slovenian, period. But that doesn't stop the American people, especially the casual fans, to jump in and jump on the bandwagon. And I think in softball, that qualifies here because this sport has shown in this Olympics there's parity. The Americans don't longer, and I think the one of the positives of this result is they can't use the excuse anymore of keeping softball in the Olympics of saying, well, that's because Team USA dominates the sport. No, that's not the case anymore. Japan is every bit as good. We said this in our preview of the gold medal game. I thought this was a toss-up, and at the end of the day, the difference in this game was Japan had timely hitting and USA didn't, and Japan deserved this. They won it. Congrats to them.
Yes, and if you think about it, Eric, when we talked about the game going into it the second time around, it was all about which team could execute and get the timely hits. That's what Japan did. Japan got that slow rolling infield single right in front of Valley Aguilar to get the game's first run, and they got a crucial base hit to get the second run on the board. But then the play of the game was the sixth inning. USA got the tying runs on, 1 out with Chidester at the plate. The count was even 2-2. She hit a ground ball, hit off the leg of the third baseman. Atsumi comes behind, makes the catch. Moultrie is essentially in no man's land because, hey, you think that ball's gonna get through, you're gonna come home to score. She's essentially caught in that twilight zone. She gets doubled off, and that was the last threat for Team USA, and Japan got the win. Hey, that's an unfortunate break. For all you dopes who are saying that's a bad base runner for Michelle Moultrie, you obviously have never played high-level softball, particularly high-level softball with the stakes as high as this. So y'all can miss me with that garbage opinion about, oh, she overran the base, that's bad base running. What are you supposed to do? But yet, you people, if she stays still and that ball goes over the shortstop's head and she only advances to third, y'all will be the same people saying, well, why was she running on a pitch?
I've never seen that play, by the way. That was an insane play. I've never seen that play. In all my years in softball, I've never seen a double play like that. Beth Mowins, who's obviously watched more softball than I have, she had never seen a play like that. Look, man, it was Japan's day. Yeah. Right? Didn't that play kind of tell you, it's their day?
Yes. Yes. When you see a play like that in a championship game, it kind of just gives you a sign that, you know what? It was meant to be for that team. It was meant to be. It was meant to be for Japan. It really was.
Let's kind of talk about that first inning. U.S. had an opportunity there. Jenny Reed got the triple and tried to score. Did you have any issues there going on that play? The ball gets away from the catcher. She takes off. Yukiko Bueno covers home plate. They throw to home. They tag her out. Any issues there going there with less than 2 outs?
I don't, honestly, because understanding how tight this game was going to be played, if you can steal a run in the first inning, then yes, that's great. That's just a better play by Japan. That's better execution from Japan defensively. And Yukiko Ueno, let's give her flowers right now.
Yeah.
She's 39, came out of retirement to pitch for Japan in the Olympics. And you saw that she's still one of the best pitchers in the world. And for those of you who think that Japan is going to and for those who are thinking that Japan is going to slightly fall off after she retires, Goto came in the 6th inning and did what she had to do. She set the stage for Ueno to come back in fresh, ready to go for the 7th. She got USA in order, and Japan wins the gold medal again.
I agree. And I think Yukiko Ueno is a legend. It's an icon. She came out of retirement, 39 years old, and she had an injury earlier this year, came back, and was magnificent. And then Goto, you saw the passing of the torch there. Although Goto pitched, it came in. They brought Ueno back to close it out. But Goto is the kid that's probably going to be their ace by 2028 when they get to Los Angeles. They're not going away. But that was a great 1-2 punch they showed all postseason tournament long. And honestly, didn't get enough credit. If you think about it, they shut out Canada. Here they shut out USA. They give up the 2 runs to Mexico. But I think they were legit, and they had better timely hitting the whole time. I agree with you, and I don't know. It's I know the people are going to be frustrated. They're gonna point about a bunch of players. People are asking me about the dissection about 9 runs in 6 games, which the refined reseller has pointed out. I agree. I understand that, and they understand it. But again, this was not a tournament there. A lot of runs were scored. This was a pitching-dominated tournament. I don't care who you put on this U.S. roster offensively. Put any name you want. Unless you're putting Crystal Bustos and Jessica Mendoza maybe in their prime, I don't think anybody would have hit Japan pitching today at all.
No.
Period.
No. That's how dominant Japan's pitching was in this entire tournament. And really, that's how dominant the pitching was in general throughout the Tokyo Olympics. And I think fans have to realize that even though we've seen offense explode in the collegiate game, it still comes down to who you got in the circle, pun intended, and how good they are. Plain and simple. And Eric Lopez is probably are you going to wake us up? We're going to have an ELO bomb at 9:23 Eastern time in the morning on a Tuesday?
No. I'm just dealing with a bunch of pricks. A bunch of
Eric.
Eric. Just a lot of spoiled brats out there that can't accept a loss. Period.
Well, they're probably the same types of people who
not in our chat room, by the way. I'm not talking to anybody in the chat room, for the record. There's people outside of social media.
It just boggles my mind, Eric. Just the lack of awareness. Is it fair to say a lack of awareness from some people in regards to
arrogance? Well, it's arrogance. It's just arrogant, and people not respecting their opponents and respecting the game internationally. We've said this throughout the tournament. These two teams are evenly matched. I picked Japan to win the gold. You picked USA. We both were kind of dead on. Again, USA just didn't have timely hits. Japan did. Give Japan credit. That period. I don't think it's for the lack of effort. Like Amanda Chittister is a legit player. Valerie Arrieta, legit player. Like these are great hitters. They just didn't hit. And they didn't hit because they faced good pitching most of the time. That happens. That's sports. Deal with it.
Yep. But the problem is, Eric, people aren't. And I think this is just a societal issue in general. People think that their opinion is right, and anyone who doesn't agree with their opinion, you're a bunch of idiots. Well, guess what? Y'all are freaking idiots.
Well, my favorite part of the problem is there's a lot of people that don't follow the game internationally, but yet like to throw their opinions in based on college softball results. And college and international is completely different. Now, again, could you make cases for other players to be on this roster? Sure. But again, there's only 15 active. Now, I would expand it to 18. If it was up to me, I would expand the roster to 18, and I would make the gold medal game a 2 out of 3. Now, is that going to happen? Probably not, because as I've been told since I said that on the last episode, Victor, that costs money, and they don't want to spend money, and the IOC doesn't want to spend money when it comes to women's sports, and in particular a sport like softball. So that probably isn't going to happen. But this is a crapshoot. Again, go back to 2008. U.S. beat Japan twice, had to play them a third time. These teams are too good to try to beat them over and over and over. It's just not going to happen. It's a 2-0 game. And look, let's talk. I mean, Japan really, I thought, did a nice job, and Michelle Smith pointed this out on the broadcast. They do a great job of putting the ball in play, advancing the runners, the simple things. And I think in the U.S., we've gotten caught up with the long ball a little bit, right? Like we've seen this in college softball. Everybody plays for the big inning. Japan plays that old school style. They executed it very well. You've muted yourself, Vic. Hold on. You've muted yourself. Let's see if we can get you unmuted. How did you unmute? How did you mute yourself here? I don't know. Let's see here. That's up to you, Vic. You're the producer. Well, you figure that out. The bottom line is Team USA got beat by a better team today. It stinks. It really stinks. I get the frustration. I get it all. But, it is what it is. That's sports. You deal with it. I think 2008, to be honest, hurt more because you could argue U.S. was the better team. I think Japan only had one hit the entire game in that gold medal game in 2008. That was not the case here today. Let me read some comments here while Vic figures out his technical issues here. Mikey Time, 2 crazy great plays late in the game, just not to be. I agree with that. I think that's a fair point, Mikey Time. To me, that's the story. And the ball didn't bounce USA's way there. 405 boy. Hate to hear our ladies lost. Great job, though, on this silver. Mikey Time also right. 39, lifetime of dedication to the sport, respect. Talking about Yukiko Ueno. Talking about, these great pictures with Kat Osterman, Monica Abbott, as I hear, and Yukiko Ueno here, Vic. Oh, there you go. We hear you. That's good. I've never been happier to hear your voice, Vic, than now.
Probably one of those spoiled brats that heard what I had to say, try to axe my audio for a few moments.
Correct. Tell me if I've been wrong in anything I've said. Like, tell me a hitter that makes a difference for Team USA today against Japan in the gold medal game. I don't see it. Sorry. Name the player you want. They weren't going to hit. Japan has great pitching. Yukiko Ueno is not a fluke. She's done this over and over again. It just is what it is. Credit to Japan. Let's talk legacies here, because we probably have just seen Kat Osterman's last game internationally. Probably have seen Monica Abbott's last game internationally. Tough one that hurt. I feel for them. Came back, try to get that goal after 2008. Yeah. I thought they were both fantastic. As far as this Japan game, we could talk about the fact they whipped by committee, but at the end of the day, they didn't score runs. It didn't matter who pitched. They were due to lose a 1-0, 2-0 game, right? The way they hit the whole tournament.
Yeah.
And I do wonder, I go back to that first inning. I'll always remember that play. Now, granted, let's talk about the U.S. Before I get into that, let's talk about the USA defense. Moultrie robbing of a home run. Ginny Reed in that 7th inning, robbing Japan of a home run. USA's defense gave them opportunities in this game. But I wonder what would have happened if Reed scores in that first inning and USA's playing with the lead. I felt like this was a game. The team that had scored first was going to win this game just because they had the pitching to outplay the hitting, if you will, dominate the pitching. I think this was a very old school softball game, Victor, ironically enough.
It was very nice to see, honestly, where the focus was on who executed defensively, who got the best pitching, and who came away with the timely hitting instead of who could hit the most home runs out of the ballpark. It's kind of a real nice throwback to how we saw the 2008 Olympics decided with Japan and the United States, of course, with Japan winning that one as well. But we need to give Janie Reed a ton of credit for her performance this morning in the gold medal game, because they held Haley McClaney off the bases. And for Janie Reed to step up, go 2 for 3, and pad Essentially, the reason USA had any chance in the seventh inning because she had that home run saving catch.
Yeah.
JD Reed was the reason why Team USA still had a chance to win the gold medal in the seventh inning.
I agree. I agree with that. That's a great point you make up. That's a great point to bring up. And I don't. The better team won today. I'm sorry, guys. I know people want to make excuses, look for blame. The better team won. I wish I had a different answer for you, Vic. I wish anybody. I don't enjoy this. I feel bad. I know a lot of those players. There's hurt right there. There's hurt. There's a lot of pain. I think people forget that, especially social media. There's a lot of hard work was put into this, and I feel for those people who left it all in the field. But Japan was just a little better. And that's sports. Yeah. It's not fair sometimes. It's cruel, but Japan earned it. And it just makes me ticked off to see these people trying to look for blame instead of giving credit to the other team.
We need. I'm in a mood this morning where I think we need to put some names to these people who want to try and put blame on USA instead of giving praise and credit to Japan.
It's the same people that are going to rip USA basketball when they lose. It's the same people they just enjoy the misery, if you will, I guess. I don't know what it is.
Because they're miserable themselves. It's short in Florida. Joy in the misery of others.
Yeah, enjoy the sport. So it is what it is. Let's get into some questions here. Parker Dickerson has a good question. Who do you see retiring here shortly now that there is a 8-year wait for another Olympics? 7 if you're technical, because we are a year behind, Parker, but it's a very legitimate question. Let's get into that, Victor. I think that's a fair question. Los Angeles now is the focus. I think there's going to be a completely different overhaul in Team USA. I expect a new head coach. I expect a new roster. The question will be, for example, let's start in the pitching circle. And this is just our guesses here, Victor. I haven't spoken to anybody, obviously. They're all in Japan. This is just my educated guess. You tell me, you agree, disagree, feel free. This is just speculate. We're just speculating because it's a fair question. I think Kat Osterman's pitched her last game internationally. I think Monica Abbott has, although, how old is, I just don't see, I don't know if you can make it to 28 in LA. I think Carta has showed her value as a versatile player. She could still be a part of it. I think you look at the young ones like Rachel Garcia, Bubba Nichols, Deja, Mulipula. To me, those are part of the future for 2028. I think that's the glue. You hope that you get those players in 2028. I think Haley McClenny will be a part of 2028 if she chooses to. And I think she would. She's still young in her prime. To me, I've said this and I don't change my opinion. I think she's still the best player in the United States, best player maybe in the world. And I don't think it's an accident. She was held hitless. Japan, that was a big part of the strategy, I'm sure, in their success. Your thoughts on the roster, what I've said. I think Ken Erickson, this was his last game as international head coach. I think you'll have a new head coach. I am fascinated to find out who that's going to be because the Olympics aren't in place till 2028. So whoever's the head coach, are they willing to be the head coach with no guarantees that they would be the Olympic head coach in 2028? This is a 7-year journey now, building teams to compete in world championships and Pan American games and World Cups, etc. It's going to be very interesting because there are going to be people who are going to be asking for Patty Gasso to be the head coach of Team USA because Norman is literally right there in Oklahoma City where USA Softball is headquartered. Does Gasso want to have that responsibility? We don't know. Heather Tarr, you would have to think would be in the running because of her association being a part of this USA staff. But again, same thing. Do you want to make that commitment, especially being out on the West Coast in Seattle? I honestly don't know where USA Softball goes with head coaching. I honestly don't. Well, and I think you bring up a good point. This is not an easy job. This is not a wealthy gig. You're taking time in a lot of cases out of coaching your college program and recruiting and all that. You're taking a lot of time, a lot of summers. It's time away from family. It's time away from your program that you're coaching. If you're, coaching, I think Ken, when Ken took over this program, remember back in 2011, everybody had retired from the 08 team. So they were rebuilding this sucker from scratch, and they've had a lot of success. They returned to being number one in the world. They won the world championships in 2018 in Japan. And, Vic, we brought this up, and this is something that'll be forgotten. And look, I said this before the tournament started. So one of the reasons I picked Japan to win, and that is they didn't have to leave their country and navigate through a pandemic. They pretty much stayed home. You look at USA, they didn't have their typical tour. That got disrupted. Their training got disrupted. This was an unusual way to happen, and I had concerns. This is not easy to navigate, and now you're flying all the way to Japan, and you got they're not going to make excuses about that, but this was not their normal playing 30, 40 games against college team tours and playing against. Now, they played some professional teams. They played against the Alliance and things like that, but it wasn't their normal, traditional training. You wonder if this was a normal training. I think that, could have fared better at results. Obviously, the field, it rained on and off throughout the day in Japan. There's just a lot of things that just was obstacles. And look, I think Ken did a good job. He's going to get criticized. It comes with the territory, but he built this team back up as a nation. And look, at the end of the day, they just lost. They got a silver. They lost to a better team. And and by the way, in their backyard, it wasn't, this was even though now there was no fans, but this was still in Japan. Japan had all the advantages going in. I'm sorry. They did.
Yeah, and I think here's the thing, and I feel that Robert Malone brought up a very interesting point about coming up. The U18 junior national team, that could be kind of like the core of what we see in Los Angeles in 2028, because you have Valerie Cagle, two-way dynamic star out of Clemson. Don't forget Montana Fouch. You got Megan Faramo from UCLA as a part of that staff as well. And I really feel that you have an opportunity with those stars and some players that may not even be playing collegiately yet that could be a part of this USA roster in 2028.
That's a great point. I mean, we're not even thinking of names that could probably be in the mix. Like, I don't know how many, it's such a long time between now and 2028. Exactly. You're right. And Kyla Hollis, by the way, is the head coach of the junior national team. They will be competing later this year. Keep that name in mind as well, especially if they do very well. So, the sport is fine. Now, Mikey Time brings up a question. How is softball not in the next Olympics? Seems criminal to me. Money, right? Yeah, I mean, basically, Europe, Paris will have the Olympics in 2024. Softball not as big in the Olympics, definitely not baseball. And so they decided not to pick that sport. I think it's a joke that they're letting, to me, softball, baseball should be a permanent sport. There's clearly other sports in the Olympics. Victor doesn't want me to go through that because it would take hours to go over the nonsense sports. Like break dancing is in it, or what is it? What was it? Ballroom dancing or whatever?
Break dancing was in the Olympics. Rock climbing.
Yeah, skateboarding. It's nonsense. I think it's a joke.
Eric, I heard Jumping to Conclusions is going to be a late addition to the 2024 Olympics in France as well.
Right.
Thank you.
You're lucky I'm not on caffeine right now. But look, it's I wish the sport would be there permanent. I'm optimistic that it will be for Los Angeles in 2028 and then Brisbane in 2032. So to me, you've got over a decade to kind of build up Europe and try to keep this become a permanent sport in the Olympics. But that's why it's not in 2024. And that's why this stings a little bit. This is not, you don't get another opportunity next week. You don't get another opportunity next year. You don't get an opportunity 4 years from now or 3 years from now. And that's what stings. Because I think, I would have liked to have seen this matchup in a neutral field in different circumstances. I just was skeptical about this Olympics in the current climate the way it is, but credit to all the softball players. They played. We did not hear of any COVID issues involving the softball tournament. It went smooth and on schedule. And I want to kind of give a shout out as we kind of go as a big picture softball here. We saw Kat Osterman, who was fantastic in this tournament. A salute to her. Her comeback was an incredible story. She was fantastic throughout the tournament. It was great to see her. Jessica Mendoza said it during the tournament. She should never have retired, really. She could have just played all this time and be on top of her game. Monica Abbott, still fantastic. Danielle Laurie. Can we give a shout out to Danielle Laurie? This is the segment of while Victor was sleeping. Canada won the bronze in a really good game against Mexico, 3-2. Danielle Laurie, unbelievable. In relief, they go by committee, like the Canada's done the entire tournament with Groenewegen and Kyra, and they brought in Laurie, and she was fantastic. 2 in the third innings, struck out 4 of the last 5 Mexico hitters, got the win. How fitting is that, Victor? We had Danielle Laurie on In the Circle podcast a couple of years ago, prior to a Canada Cup. As a mom and coming out of retirement, had a bad experience in the 2008 Olympics. She talked about it openly. What a way for her to go out, dominant as ever, one of the greats of all time, to win a bronze, first medal ever for Team Canada in the Olympics. They beat a Mexico team that kind of came on late as far as their hitting. They beat Australia to get to the bronze medal game. It was a 3-2 win for Canada. Really good game, but really happy for Danielle Laurie, Jen Salling, who was phenomenal hitting in this Olympics as well. Victoria Haywood was tremendous. Kayla Rafter, Bay Rugula. I mean, they had a lot of players that came out of retirement too. And that nation, which has made up a lot of ground and was this close to playing in the gold medal game, gets a bronze, well-earned bronze. And, man, I'm just so happy for Danielle and all the players and Jen and those players. They put in a lot of hard work. And to get a medal, first medal ever for Canada. I know they were hoping for gold or silver, but to get a medal, first medal ever in the Olympics for Canada in softball is huge for them.
Never underestimate the power of winning an Olympic medal for young women who are getting into the sport or maybe on the fence about playing softball. You just saw your country take home a medal in a sport which was for a long time a two-nation sport, Japan and USA. For you to take home a bronze medal and to be this close to play for the gold medal, it's a credit to Team Canada, and I feel it brings closure to this chapter of Canada softball with the Laurie, with the Hayward, with the Salling, and now you have the next generation with a Raptor, with a Groenewegen. Oh, by the way, Sarah Groenewegen, she had her own health scare, which she wasn't even thought of even being here, period. For her to be a part of this as well, it's truly it's a miracle and it's remarkable. And I tell you what, Canada has some real great players up the pike, and they're on their U18 junior national team. So Canada is going to be a threat along with USA and Japan when the Olympics come back in 2028 in Los Angeles.
I agree. I mean, Canada was this close.
Yeah.
Like, they could have easily won the U.S. game. They could have easily won that Japan game. If they win that Japan game, who knows what would have happened in the U.S.-Japan game. Probably Bueno pitches instead of, their number 3. But nonetheless, I think those 3 countries were very close. You could flip a coin. I mean, Canada lost 2 1-0 games. But credit to them, they took that loss. It was a heartbreaking loss against Japan. They knew they were out for the gold medal, but they came back. They beat Italy. Laurie got the start in that game. And then to come back and beat Mexico, played their best game of the tournament. You wondered, where had this been earlier, right? That might have been a different story for Mexico in this Olympics. But nonetheless, I thought it was the right result. Canada earned that bronze. But Laurie was fantastic. I'm amazed how good she was. It really was. And credit to them. In a lot of ways, I really have. I'm not going to brag because I'm bummed out. I wish U.S. would have won gold. I was hoping you would be right, Victor. But I did say Japan wins gold, U.S. silver, Canada bronze, and that's kind of how it played out. Yeah. And I think that was kind of earned. I don't think there was any flukish thing about it. I think that was fair. I think the way this tournament played out, I think it's a fair result. I think everybody can live with that. I don't think this is an 2008 case where USA was clearly the best team and kind of ran into some bad luck with some miscues and stuff. Japan was better throughout the tournament hitting-wise. They're at home. and they made the timely hits in the gold medal game. And I thought Canada was right there with USA and Japan. I'm happy with those three teams getting the medal. They are the three best teams in the world, period.
Yeah, Mexico has a lot to be proud of.
Yeah,
they started off 0-3. Look, if you look for Mexico to start 0-3 and to be 1-1 and to be one run away from possibly medaling in their, by the way, their first ever Olympics. Let's remember that, ladies and gentlemen. It's their first ever Olympics. It's Mexico was right there. I'm disappointed for Australia. They had a tough performance. Stacey Porter announced her retirement from international play. A salute to the captain of Australia. And Italy, in their first Olympics, didn't go the way that they wanted to. They have a lot to be proud of, making it to the Olympics just to get to this point. Softball's growing. Some people may want to accept that, but the sport of softball is growing.
Well, we've seen that up close, Vic. Up close, we've covered the junior level. I mean, I think back to 2019 where USA took a walk-off to beat Japan in the gold medal game in the 2019 junior championship. Yeah. It's not like this is not a surprise. This is not an upset. This is not an upset. This is not a surprise. Results, period. As you mentioned, the game's growing.
Yes, the game is growing, and the game is better for it. That's the biggest thing. Yeah.
Well, my heart breaks out. I mean, obviously, Kat Oster being interviewed post-game, very gracious, but obviously in tears. There's emotion, a lot of emotion, as you would imagine. A difficult time. What a journey. But a salute to her, a salute to Monica, a salute to Yukiko Ueno, a salute to Danielle Laurie, a salute to a lot of these players that I'm not even going to mention because it's a long list that put their normal lives kind of on pause, right? To train, to make the team, families away. Danielle Laurie's been away. It's just a lot of sacrifices have been made by a lot of athletes in this tournament to get this in. 13 years they waited for this. And they had this opportunity. I wish it was better circumstances where you would have had 15, 20,000 people cheering this great sport. Unfortunately, that's not where we're at in the world that we're in right now. But, man, they left it all on the field. Everybody left it on the field. And I hope no regrets from anybody. Nobody should hold their heads down. They did an incredible job, I think, representing the sport. I will be looking for the TV numbers. I expect to be good TV numbers. We'll see this week. I'll deal with that once those come out. But let's just kind of talk here, Victor. Your kind of last thoughts about the Olympics here this last week. What will you take away from this moving forward? And then maybe, if you want to, if there were some things you like from the Olympics that you think the college game, for example, could use. Some people have been talking about the pitch clock. Some people want to use that for the college game. Some people like the catcher being pinch run for so they could get their gear on and save some time in between innings, things like that. I don't know. I mean, I'm for the pitch clock. I think just putting the runner at first base, intentional walk automatically, I like. Yeah. But, what's your thoughts on this?
The sport, the biggest thing, number one for me, Eric, is that the sport of softball is probably at its apex right now. Probably more so than in 2008 because of the explosion of television, because of now players being on social media and people knowing who they are now on and off the field. And the talent has grown in the sport. The Olympics saw it as a prime example. There was we knew who we thought would win eventually won, but it wasn't a runaway. It wasn't a boring track to get to this gold medal game. Couple plays turn one way or the other. We're probably seeing two different countries on the podium. We're seeing another country holding the gold medal. So that's the biggest takeaway for me. I like the pitch clock. I think it should be implemented in college. Make the game go by faster. The intentional walk. I know Major League Baseball has done it, where you just say we're going to walk them, and you do that. Say pitches on the pitcher's arm. Keep the game moving. I like those aspects of the game. But all in all, Eric, the sport of softball is in a real good place right now. Now, what I want to see next, and I don't know, we've had this happen before. Can we get a viable, sustainable professional league where players can make a living playing here in America and not have to travel to Japan to try to apply their wares and their trades somewhere else?
Well, Athletes Unlimited could be that answer. We'll see. That could be the answer. They're going to get set for year 2 on that. Maybe that's the way it goes, honestly. They're doing that with volleyball and lacrosse and other sports there on that. The only thing I'm going to say is thank you. Thank you to all the athletes and the coaches that participated in the Olympics because this has been a long journey. I will say this, for 2020, I hope they go back to 8 teams. I think there's more good quality teams that could have been in this Olympics. Yeah. I would like to see that. I would like to see the rosters go up to 18. I know I'm being unrealistic, but I think it's unfortunate. Soccer expanded their rosters. They allowed the alternates to be a part of the rosters for the Olympics. Softball was not allowed of that. I would like to see that in the future. This sport, there's more talent across the board. And I think one of the reasons why the gap is neared is the U.S., yes, do they have more talent in the United States than the other world? Yeah, probably. But when you limit the roster to only 15, it's kind of negated. And I think people forget that. Kind of the same thing in basketball. Everybody keeps talking about basketball has the best players in the world. That's true, but you're only limited to 12. So that's kind of negated in a tournament like this. But I just want to say thank you to the players and the coaches. It was not an easy process. Remember, their families couldn't travel with them like a normal Olympics. So they've been away from their families. They spent a ton of time getting ready for this big stage and provided us with some great moments. I'll always remember the Canada-Japan game, even though it was international stream because NBC decided to air tape delay sports at 1:30 in the morning instead of live programming. But don't even get me started on nonsense. That was an incredible game. The U.S.-Canada game I thought was tremendous. Back and forth, the drama, even the 2 U.S.-Japan games always lived up to the hype. It was great to see Italy excited to be in the Olympics. Australia, U.S. game was dramatic. It was a lot of moments in this one that provided for us in the softball Olympics. And hopefully, I just want to thank them. I think people forget what these athletes have to go through, especially during a pandemic. They have to go through all these protocols. Man, a salute to them just to getting this in, man.
Yeah,
getting this in and providing an even tournament where you really had no idea what was going to happen on a day-to-day basis. Thank you to all of them, the coaches and the players and all the people that have sacrificed. I would argue for many years, right? Since the day that it was announced that the Olympics were coming back to Japan. I think everybody's been working to this. They nearly lost it. This was supposed to be last year. It's now this year. So a salute, Vic. I know you like to give salutes. A salute to everybody involved on this 2020 Tokyo Olympics for softball. Hope to see you soon in Los Angeles 2020, but do not disregard. We still got a lot of great international events between now and then. All right. Before we go, make a note. We will have our podcast out Wednesday. More on this gold medal game, more on the Olympics coverage. We'll have a special guest. We'll announce this later on our social media platforms once it's confirmed. See? We're going to just tease there. One other thing we are going to talk about, though, Victor, real quick here. The big story now, moving forward, this week, will turn their attentions to Texas and Oklahoma, which officially basically told the Big 12, we're probably going to be leaving you all. Now, we don't know when they're leaving the Big 12, but they're leaving the Big 12, and it looks like they're going to join the SEC. This is a significant realignment news that obviously is a lot of the media is caught up in football, but this has huge ramifications in softball. My goodness.
Look, for all you people who got mad about the SEC getting 13 teams in, prepare to increase that number to 15. Now I share my thoughts about this, Eric, before our Monday episode, and I'm sure we'll talk about this more next week. The SEC, and I have 2 suggestions for the SEC, and I want you to think about these, and we'll talk about this on our Monday episode. The SEC should have the bottom 3 teams not make the SEC tournament, make the regular season mean something. And then number 2, I think the SEC should go into like a pod system, 3 5-team pods. Pod 1 will be Texas, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, Missouri, and Texas, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, Missouri, Arkansas. Pod 2 will be Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Alabama, Auburn, LSU. Pod 3 will be South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, Kentucky. That's how I think the SEC should do it in terms of softball. Because we all know that one school ain't going to invest.
Well, I mean, we can get it. We got plenty of time to get in what the format should be and all that. My thought is this: I made a tweet in May that ticked off a lot of Pac-12 people about how the SEC has passed you by. This was after the selection night. That realized the game. And a lot of Pac-12 people got mad at me in the game. Well, how do you feel now, Pac-12? How do you feel now? Because the SEC now has become a giant. I'm not saying this is great for college athletics, for the record, by the way. I don't like it. I hate it. But it is what it is. You add Oklahoma and Texas to the SEC, there's no longer a debate on which conference is the tops in the SEC. Period.
No, there's no question. The debate is over.
Yeah. So, sorry, Pac-12, but it's over for you. Good luck. You can at least be number 2. By the way, Mikey Time make a great point. I forgot to mention this. Yes, 2028 in LA. Let's have a softball field actually host the softball tournament. I mean, look, for this year, I get it. U.S. baseball and softball are a share bid, so therefore they have to share the stadium. Nobody's going to complain about it considering the conditions that they have gone through and everything. But in 2028, there's no excuse. No excuse. Let's play. No. Let's play in a softball field. Ben does not think it's a good move for Oklahoma. I don't think it's a good move for a lot of people. I don't think it's a good move for a lot of the SEC schools allowing this to happen. But that's we got more time to get into that.
We'll have plenty of time to talk about it on our Monday episode. Trust me on that one.
All right. So as we're gonna wrap this up, want to thank all of you that have tuned in over the last week on our YouTube page at various hours. We've been on at midnight, and now we've been on at 9 a.m. Eastern time, 6 in Pacific time. And man, you all are great, loyal fans. I really appreciate that. I think me and Vic appreciate that. And I think you all appreciate the hard work. Victor, thanks to you. You've set all this up in various hours. Weird hours. That's all I'll say. Thanks to everybody that's tuned in throughout the week. Make sure you still subscribe to YouTube. We still will do some live shows here and there, as and with time warrants, but we'll also have post interviews. Make sure you check that out on our subscribe and like us on In the Circle SB on the YouTube page. Make sure you subscribe to us on your favorite podcast devices to listen to all our podcasts. We'll have a podcast out Wednesday. More on this gold medal game. And we'll have hopefully a special guest. I will not spoil it. So more on that. And then obviously make sure you follow us on Twitter, In the Circle SB. Lots of college offseason news still to happen. Washington, Heather Tarr now is assistant at USA. Who is going to be on her staff? Who's going to be her new assistant? That could become the biggest question in this offseason with fall just around the corner. Follow In the Circle. We'll have all of that. So, Victor, you get to have the last words.
We appreciate softball being back in the Olympics. Congratulations to Japan. Congratulations to Team USA, all the countries who represented their colors in the Olympics. And why the heck do we have to wait until 2028 to see the Olympics again? I will just leave it on that note. So, Eric, you have any final words?
I got to follow that. No, I'm just going to say thank you to everybody for tuning in. Enjoy. Hope you've enjoyed this broadcast. Hope you enjoyed softball Olympics. 13 years in the making. Who knows where me and Vic will be in 2028, but maybe in LA. And we are available to broadcast NBC. We actually know the sport inside out. If you need people to stream, we're available. Beth and Michelle, yes. Great job. Streaming broadcasters, not so much. That's my last word.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. We'll talk to you tomorrow with a new episode where we're going to recap the gold medal game, and then we'll have our guests, which we will announce later on today. So follow us in the Circle SB for all the details about that. So for Eric, I'm Victor.
Thumbs up.
Good night. Get some sleep, people.
Good night. Good night, Japan. Good night, Canada. Good night, Mexico, Australia.
Good morning, United States.
So, yes, good morning.
We'll see y'all.